Hello and welcome back to Story Behind the Story. I'm your host, Emma Bjork, and with me today I have Kendrick, Calfee. Kendrick, you wrote a very interesting piece, and I was just wondering if I could ask you a few questions about it.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome. Okay, so the first question I have is, how did you find this story?
Yeah, so I was in the newsroom one night working on my stuff, and the advocacy center actually emailed me and said they want to reach out to some media and get the word out there for Domestic Violence Awareness Month in October. We were pretty booked with our stories in October, so I was able to get out the first week of November that we printed, but it was basically their doing. They reached out and said that they wanted to get awareness out about the month, and then also do a profile on the two victims that had such an impact on the advocacy.
Very cool. Okay, and what made you want to write this particular story?
I thought it was a very important story because not a lot of people know about the local services around here for victims of domestic violence and abuse. They actually used to be named the Children and Family Center of Northwest Missouri, and they went under a brand change. So that was also part of it, just helping get that word out there that even though they have a new name, they have the same type of services, and it's not limited to just children and family.
Okay, yeah, cool. And can you maybe elaborate a little bit more on that brand change, like what brought that about?
Yeah, so they had people come to them and say, well, I'm not so sure that you're an advocacy center for people other than, people that don't have families. And so they said that was a big issue with getting people to come in and take part in their services because they do court advocacy, they help you through your filing of divorce if that's necessary. They help you get separation orders. They have a bunch of services available. So getting that word out there was big for them.
All right, very cool. And one of the things you mentioned with Tara's story specifically, she was a military wife, and she talked about at first going through the military services and then switching over to North Advocacy, saying that North Advocacy was significantly better. I was just wondering if you could maybe explain a little bit more about that and why North Advocacy was so much better than what the military might have offered.
Yeah, so when she was getting military services, she was still with her former husband. And so it was the situation of them trying to mend that marriage and make it better. But when she had came to the advocacy center, she was trying to separate from her husband instead of trying to mend that relationship. So the counseling that the military provided, although it was a good service, it just didn't work for them because of the abuse that happened in the marriage. And so when she came to North Star, they were able to help her through that divorce and get custody of her son.
So in the article, you talked about the advice that these women would give to other people seeking help. What would you say are the biggest points of advice that they would want you to share?
Yeah, the first thing is Tara said not to downplay the abuse. Don't think that it's your fault as the person being abused for it happening, because that's what Tara said that she did. She said that there is help out there and to definitely reach out and not to feel like you're alone because there's many people that are pushing this down. And with Pam, she said that it's one thing to be afraid and stuff of like your abuser, but don't put yourself responsible for what's happening to your children too, because that was a big part of her story. She felt responsible for the stuff that happened to her children, but it was not at all her fault.
Yeah, totally. All right, well, that is all the time we have today. Thank you so much for joining us, Kendrick, and join us next time for a new episode of Story Behind the Story.